retirees, because for several administrations, Congress and the President have taken the Social Security Trust Fund and used it in the general budget. $2.3 trillion is now missing from it, but it's an entitlement program to us. And so the director of the Social Security Administration, with an interesting turn of phrase, says, for accounting purposes, he says, for accounting purposes, we have invested that money in U.S. Treasuries. In other words, he took our retirement and bought government debt. That's what he's really saying, of which we now have to pay back with interest. It reminds me of those old Soviet stories, you know, where the KGB would pull some guy out of Lubyanka prison, make him dig his own grave, shoot him in the head, and then send his family a bill for the bullet. You know, it's bordering on that. They steal our money and we have to pay it back plus interest. Anyway, that's the state of Social Security right now. As this CBO report further said, it's $15 trillion underfunded right now. Things are really ominous out there for the U.S. dollar. What does all this mean? What would default mean? Well, it means, if you think about it for yourself, what would it mean if you woke up tomorrow and couldn't pay your debts? You might be out of a house, you might get sued, you might lose your property, but in addition to that, you would not be able to buy anything on credit. No one would sell you anything unless you had a really good bankruptcy lawyer like me to arrange it for you. Then we could probably work something out. The point is that default would be a disaster for the United States. As I said, it would cause a worldwide cataclysmic economic disaster. But for us right here, what it would mean is prices would skyrocket because the government would print money which would set off the fire of inflation and fuel it. We would not be able to obtain anything through imports. And what isn't imported? Food's imported, fuel's imported. You know, we might be able to go a few years with the cars we have now, but we can't go a few years without eating or without fuel to heat our homes and so forth. So if you live out on some little farm like some of you do here, that's good. What else would it mean? Well, we're already at this situation. We don't have to have default to have this, because when the government incurs all this debt, it's not without cost to the private economy. Every dollar of credit, every dollar of debt that they incur sucks additional money out of the private economy. The government competes with private lenders for credit. Credit is money today. That's why there's nothing happening. It's why the economy's drying up. So for your children and your grandchildren, their dreams come with a cap now. This is now, and it's permanent. You'll never be able to say again, in all honesty, that the possibilities for your children are unlimited. They're not anymore. It doesn't matter where they go to school. This is a future destroying event. This is happening now, and that's why it's so sad. You know, I have a daughter that graduated from an Ivy League university that I and my wife struggled to put her through, because they told us she's not entitled to any money because you're not poor. So the point is, all these things we tell her, live your dreams, you know, be what you want to be. Well, regrettably, that's not true anymore. Where else does it leave us? What's the long-term future look like? Well, I ask you, when's the last time you were in Detroit? Detroit's population is down 50% from its high. It's at 900,000 now. Whole neighborhoods are being bulldozed to return to farming. The average or median price of a house in America right now is $168,000. In Detroit, it's $7,000. $7,000. I mean, can you imagine going and buying a house that just a couple of years ago would have cost $250,000 and paying $10,000 for it and losing money. I mean, that's what's happening. Births to single mothers, unmarried mothers, 80% now in Detroit. Education, if it exists, is just government propaganda. Their manufacturing base is now methamphetamine instead of automobiles. This is Detroit right now. Is that our future? Nobody seems to know. Nobody will talk about it. But we smile and we go on down the road. You know, we give ourselves that that famous nose in the air type pose that we see so much. That reminds us of the ones that we see in the history books from Mussolini, who, by the way, kind of invented fascism. El Duce, they call him. He's the one who designed a government where corporations and government were the same. There was a headline in the Memphis Commercial Appeal, our newsletter the other day, about our most famous business person, Fred Smith, who's the CEO of FedEx. He lives there. He started FedEx in Memphis. And the headline said, Fred Smith says that Obama is brilliant and very pro-business. And I said, yeah, he is pro-business. He is actually so pro-business that he is business. I mean, government and business are the same thing now. If you're talking about the 25 largest corporations in the world, but it's totally different if you're talking about my little company, or people who go out every day and work for a living. Fred Smith bought his labor problems with that statement and a nice contribution. But anyway, what else is out there for us? There are many things. You know, there is a great deal of reason to be optimistic. Could this thing be stopped, or is it as bad as I say it is? Well, it's as bad as I say it is, but it could be stopped. It could be stopped. How could we do that? Well, there are some very simple things that need to be done right now if this country is to be restored. That's the interesting thing. It could be reversed if we wanted to do it, if we had the will to do it and the desire to do it. All these things are exactly the opposite of what traditional Keynesian economic theory tells you. That's the thing. It's the opposite of what we're actually doing. So what I would suggest would be the first thing would be to take our monetary system back from the Federal Reserve and restore it to the people, where the Constitution clearly puts it. Nothing else is really possible without doing that, because if you did that, then we would be back to that line that Jim gave us a minute ago. We have a no-debt policy, because we would have to pay for what we bought with real money. And if we wanted to fight a war somewhere that cost $1 trillion, we might have to say, well, you know, it would really be nice to go over there and kill a few million people, but we just really can't afford it. It's not in our budget. So take back our money from the Fed